Hello, Curious, and welcome back. It's finally here, the one where they get back together, and for those of you who might have been living under a rock over the past few weeks, we are referring to the special Friends episode where, as the name suggests, the cast will reunite to reminisce about the good old days. When the trailer dropped, it surely brought a tear to the eyes of many as feeling of nostalgia had hit many fans. And while we wait to be reunited with the cast of the hit 90s show, why not look at how much of a pioneer this show exactly was? What effects did it have, and not only on the TV industry, but also on the cultural impact of the sitcom? And which other beloved shows were inspired by this one? Did any romance bloom on the set? And why has a proper reunion of the show where the actors would reprise their roles not happened yet? And why is it most likely that it won't happen? Stay with us until the very end to find out how this sitcom about a group of friends had changed many things. But before we continue, don't forget to turn on the notifications and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our future videos. Given the show was famous all around the world, have you ever considered if this is some kind of influence on how people viewed America? It might seem like a silly thing, but the thing is that the show might have actually helped. Kelsey Miller actually wrote a book titled I'll Be There For You, the one about Friends, in which she writes about the issues the show did and did not cover, and how it and the cast influenced TV. And one of the things that she talked about was the post-9/11 America. And as it turns out, there had been research done to see if the show helped change how the world viewed America post-9/11, and it had a strong impact on positive attitudes toward views on the country. As Miller had said in an interview before the attacks had happened, there were talks of the show being wrapped up after the next season as audiences were drifting away, but after the tragedy occurred, it seems that people came flooding back in to see New York and if it was unchanged, familiar, and full of good comedy. The show had also made history by having one of the first mainstream portrayals of a gay marriage on US television, and while it aired in 1996 and was definitely ahead of its time for even airing it, looking back at it now, it was still somewhat conservative in the way that it was handled. Though it was still controversial, as in 2019, Jane Sibbett, who played Carol, told The Guardian, certain affiliates wouldn't air the episodes with our wedding. Carol and Susan weren't allowed to kiss, and the wedding scene itself lasted only about 60 seconds. And while Ross's ex did marry a woman, there was still plenty of gay jokes through the episodes and the series as a whole. That in recent years has more people thinking yikes. Another thing that was different than the majority of the shows at the time was that they were predominantly focused on love or a career, while Friends' focus was on friendship. And while it did obviously feature a romance and their jobs at times, the group's friendship was the front-running theme. And guess what? It had paid off definitely, as all of you know, not only was this the most successful show, but it also had paved the way for other sitcoms based around a group of friends, such as How I Met Your Mother, Community, and The Big Bang Theory. So if any of those are also your favorite programs, you can thank David Crane and Martha Kaufman, the creators of Friends. In its own way, it was groundbreaking, as it was one of the first shows where the group of friends considered both of men and women, and that of course had allowed them to play around with the group dynamics, and it proved that there are more gender diverse groups, and the more varied the relationships and the opportunities for comedy were. Plus, it meant that more viewers were able to relate to it, and it also showed a new vision of family. While some shows focused on the family narrative, usually headed by a married couple and their children with the other family members and the characters thrown in the mix, Friends focused on the next stage of life after you moved away from your family and before starting your own. And in their original pitch for the series, the creators wrote, "It's about friendship because when you're single and in the city, your friends are your family." But besides being one of the shows to have some of the first things that were shown on TV, Friends also influenced its viewers, especially the way we talk. Be honest, Curious, how many of us have found ourselves making references to the show, even if it's just for fun? Chances are that many of us at one point or another have shouted, "Pivot," or "We're on a break," and not to mention Maggie Wheeler's famous Janice catchphrase, "Oh my god." And of course, the ultimate pickup line that surely some of you have tried at some point, Joey Tribbiani's "How you doin'?" His line had become so iconic that when meeting Matt LeBlanc, everyone wants him to say that, even other celebrities. When he appeared on the Graham Norton Show in 2016, Game of Thrones star Emilia Clarke had even asked him to say it, and while some of these one-liners had only been said once, they had most certainly engraved themselves in pop culture. Though, speaking of Clarke, while we're now looking back at the iconic sitcom, why not take a look back at Game of Thrones in our special anniversary episode, to which the link is being currently displayed above. But for now, stay with us to find out why a proper show reunion will most likely never happen. Though this show not only influenced the way we spoke, but also the way we shopped. Many advertisers saw a show that brought in millions of viewers as a great opportunity for marketing. And one of the most obvious ones is in season 6, titled The One with the Apothecary Table, in which Rachel buys an expensive table from Pottery Barn and then lies to Phoebe that it was from a flea market. And that allowed Warner Bros. To take some money in from the nod to Pottery Barn, and when the episode aired, the company saw brand awareness spike so much that in 2009 it released a Friends line in honor of the show's 25th anniversary, and yes, the table was a part of it. But enough about how television had influenced viewers and this show. Also, it had an impact on actors themselves and how they negotiate for salaries. It is also a known fact that by the last season, these actors were making serious cash. But back in season 1, the main 6 actors were paid $22,500 per episode, according to Business Insider. However, by season 2, the craze about Ross and Rachel meant that Schwimmer and Aniston's paycheck were bumped up to $40,000 per episode. And by the third one, David convinced the others to negotiate with him as per a group. And later in an interview with Vanity Fair, he said, "I don't want to come to work feeling that there's going to be any kind of resentment. We're all going to be paid the same, for the same amount of work." At first, he and Jen took a pay cut, but in the end, that season the 6 actors got $75,000 per episode. Though as many will know, by the last season their salaries had increased to $1 million per episode. But they are still making money, as according to The Independent, and negotiations for season 6 won them 2% of the show's syndication profits, which is about $20 million per year. And this has inspired other actors to do the same, such as the cast of The Big Bang Theory. Given the fact that how often the show is rewatched by fans, which also included all of the seasons being available on Netflix for such a long time until the end of 2019, it is no surprise that the cast makes such a sum in royalties. And now it's available to watch on HBO Max after they secured an exclusive 5-year deal estimated at $425 million. You can also watch the show via reruns on cable TV on channels such as TBS and Nickelodeon. Clearly, since the cast negotiated together to get equal pay during the filming, they were on good terms, and surely they had their ups and downs through the years, but considering the fact that over the years, especially with social media, the actors had shared throwback pictures or photos of them hanging out together, and it can be said that the friendship stayed with them for a long time. And while none of the cast members ended up together after the show ended, could it be that they came close? Well, ahead of the reunion special, the 6 co-stars appeared on a cover issue of People magazine in which they had named David and Jennifer as the biggest flirt. And get this, when they were asked the question if there was a real crush going on, Schwimmer said, "Anyways, next question," as did Aniston, with Cox joking that there was in the beginning. And did any of you curious want the two to end up together in real life? And if you want to know more about the rumors about Jen's love life, why not check out our previous video? But for now, make sure you stay with us until the very end. In the past years, one question has plagued many fans. Why have we not gotten a proper reunion where the actors reprise their roles? Well, surely seeing how popular the show was, it would have been a good idea, and there were several factors why that never happened. For once, when the show ended, Matt LeBlanc had spent years hiding from the Friends fame. In a 2016 interview with The Mirror, he talked about the dark side of the fame by saying, "For years and years, I barely left the house. I was burnt out. I wanted to not have a schedule, not be somewhere. It was a very dark time. I almost had a nervous breakdown." Likewise with David Schwimmer, who isn't a big fan of being famous, and at the height of his fame, he found stardom detrimental to his relationships, and speaking with The Hollywood Reporter, he discussed the difficulty balancing his personal and professional life. "It was pretty jarring, and it messed with my relationship to other people in a way that took years, I think, for me to adjust and to become comfortable with." In another interview, the 54-year-old had said that the experience made him want to be reclusive. But there were many other reasons, such as the fact that the finale was perfect and that it tied up many things together, and it perfectly captured the feeling of them moving on to the next step of adulthood perfectly. Plus, the characters had found their happy endings. Phoebe and Mike got married, Monica and Chandler had their babies and bought their dream house, Rachel ended up with Ross, and Joey was pursuing his dream career. Even James Michael Tyler, who played everyone's favorite barista, Gunther, weighed in on it, and appearing on Good Morning Britain, he said that the idea was shot down because would you really want to watch a TV series about a group of people in their 40s still struggling like that? That would be a tragedy, not a comedy, and not to mention that the cast have many other projects lined up for them that keep them all busy. Well, since the show had ended, what have they all been up to? As many of you will certainly be aware of, they have had successful careers, appearing in many movie productions. Some had been more popular than others, such as the Friends spin-off Joey, which might have not exactly been a hit with the audiences, but LeBlanc had gone on to present to the British show Top Gear and play himself in a comedy series episodes that ran for 5 seasons. And in most recent years, David Schwimmer had appeared in different series, but most notably as Robert Kardashian. Yes, that one in The American Crime Story. Aniston had appeared in many comedies over the years, such as We're the Millers or He's Not That Into You, and has won a SAG award for outstanding performance by a female actor in a drama series for her role as Alex Levy on the Apple TV Plus The Morning Show. And after Friends, Cox starred in her own show called Cougar Town. The series lasted for 6 seasons, beginning on NBC and concluded on TBS in 2015. Lisa Kudrow had appeared in a lot of shows and movies over the years, such as The Girl on the Train, Scandal, and even created and starred in the Showtime series Web Therapy, which lasted only 4 seasons and got nominated for a Primetime Emmy. As for Perry, after the show, for a long time, he focused on rehab and his sobriety, but appeared in The Kennedys after The Camelot as Ted Kennedy, as well as several theater shows. So clearly curious in their own way, these 6 actors had made a career for themselves, which had helped the series that started it all. And all this brings us to now, which is May 27th, when the reunion will happen, with the stars looking back at the show, discussing how it was working on the set while being joined by a star-studded guest list which includes David Beckham, Justin Bieber, and the BTS. The episode will be available to watch on HBO Max. And so that special is about this reunion that will mark the first time that all 6 friends had been together on screen since the show had wrapped up. So curious, on a scale of 1 to 7, how excited are you to watch this episode? And would you like a continuation of the show? Do you know any interesting facts from the filming? And who was your favorite character? Please let us know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time!